It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
Steve Gorman, this is the KQ Morning Show. Good morning, Monday, March the 25th. Poison, nothing but a good time, which is what I was thinking about, which is what I was looking for about every 90 minutes all night long when I'd wake up and look out the window to see if it was still snowing. And maybe, just maybe, they were underselling the apocalyptic snowfall for Minnesota, specifically the Twin Cities, because that's where I live. But no. Here we are, and that's fine. I mean, now that I'm here, now that I've had a little coffee, I'm excited to be here. But, man, I was looking for a snow day. You know, wouldn't that have been nice?
Yeah. Where it gets so deep you can't. I mean, I remember one or two in my life where we didn't get out the door, and they just said, hey, man, we're just shutting it down for the day. An adult snow day. Those are very rare, of course.
No, I know.
Yeah, and we just bought a bunch of Goldschlager and went skiing, or not skiing, we went sledding. Just went out to the golf courses and started sledding and got smashed all day. Those were the days. But there's still some kids, I think, out there enjoying snow days.
Oh, there definitely throughout the state anyway. There's a lot of schools starting late, if not closed altogether. I'll say it right now, just going back to the adult snow day. If it took me drinking Goldschlager and being out playing in the snow to get the day off, I'd take a hit for the team. I'd do it.
That's generous of you.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, if that's what it's going to take, just bring the Goldschlager in and let's make plans for tomorrow morning. We'll have a good time.
That sounds so fun.
Doesn't it sound fun? Maybe, you know what we could do? If we do that, then we take a lot of videos, post them for socials on the KQ Facebook page and Instagram, and then it's kind of like a work day, and then we don't get yelled at.
You're a thinker. That's what we dig about you, man.
Don't want to get yelled at.
Well, you don't want to get yelled at. I mean, my God.
Look at all the social media we did today, man. Just racking up the hits. Always on the clock for the company.
Not so much the snow maybe we were hoping for, but the snow that we all deserved after such a moribund winter season. It would have been actually shocking if it had been more than predicted, or even as much as possibly predicted. It's neither here nor there. It's still going to snow some more, but I mean, I don't think it ever got below freezing overnight, at least where I live. It was 34, 35 degrees all night. Easy drive in for me. I hope that's the same for everybody out. If you're up and already driving, it's not so much the snow and ice, but the other knuckleheads you got to look out for on a morning like this.
Yeah. And it's raining, so it's yucky.
Yeah, it's definitely yucky. I mean, give yourself some extra time. You do have to factor in yuck on your drive, to be sure.
I have some friends that did this. It's been a long time since I got to work outside of the early morning hours, but where you just wait it out and go into work like 2 hours late and say, hey, man, it's just lousy traffic. I mean, just sit on the couch, enjoy the KQ morning show, and don't go out in it, until it's just wrapped up.
That's great advice. I think everybody listening should go for that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know what it's like when you get to work then. Everybody's already been there for an hour and a half. Where were you? What, you guys weren't stuck in? No? I used to, growing up as a Zepp, back of the line. That was the beauty of it. When everyone got in the big long line and they would stand there for doing whatever. Sure. Zepp, as soon as the line was trickled out and maybe there were two people left in line, then I would get up and join the line. So I'm not a get in and wait kind of person.
With a name like Zepp, it's literally you're always the Southwest C60 guy.
Yeah.
You just know. Any line you're in, you're last. That's fantastic. That's actually, it's kind of nice. I never thought about it. Yeah. G, for me, you're like, I might be kind of near the front, and sometimes you find yourself 10th in line. Sometimes you're 30th. You never know. If your name's Zepp, you just take your time getting to the back of the line. That's kind of nice.
Hang back.
Saved a lot of anxiety. Over the weekend, as we said, it's better to talk. It's more fun to talk about snow than how terrible we all did on our brackets. I mean, year in and year out, the tournament to me has become like the Olympics. I say for months, I don't care. And then as soon as it starts, I'm staring at the TV and I can't change. I'm going TBS, TNT, CBS, true. TNT, TBS, CBS, true. I'm just watching basketball games all weekend, teams I haven't seen all year, don't care about. I went 2 for 3 on what matters. And what matters to me is that Western Kentucky gets in and wins. Well, they got in. Okay. And then, but my 3 this week, I wanted James Madison to win. I knew they would, and they did. They beat Wisconsin. We don't have to talk about the fact that Duke destroyed them yesterday. So I got Western Kentucky. I got James Madison, and that's because my daughter goes there. But hey, man, it matters. It's me showing some support for the Dukes. And then I saw Kentucky lose. That's always the most important thing. So Kentucky lost. James Madison won. Western got in but lost. So 2 for 3. I was happy with the weekend. The rest of it, I'm just enjoying good games. I like overtime matches. Did you see any of the women's? Did you see Stanford, Iowa State last night?
No.
Did not.
Overtime. Stanford won. And then Caitlin Clark from Iowa over the weekend getting yelled at by her dad because she was bitching at the refs, and the camera cut to her father, and he's going and he's screaming, "Shut up!" at Caitlin, and he's yelling at the coach, "Take her out, take her out."
That's
'cause he's
hilarious.
And then, of course, social media, everybody's like, "She's the worst example for daughters on a." It's like, oh, get over it. They're athletes. They're mad at the refs, just like, oh gosh, I don't know, every other athlete I've ever seen. But anyway, all this to say, great weekend. Bracket sucks, but I don't care because it's a lot of fun.
Bracket sucked.
It's a lot of fun, and it's okay. And then real highlight Saturday afternoon. I popped by and hung out with Zepp at the old Donnie Smith Bike Show.
Yeah, you did, man. That was a good time and a great turnout.
And boy, I got to say, and trust me, he's not asking me to do this. Brian Zepp, you're good at those events, man. You up there on the mic and just running shtick and setting things up and letting people know what's happening. I was like, that man right there is a broadcasting professional, ladies and gentlemen.
Just starting to get the hang of it, Been around for a while doing it. But, in particular, the Donnie Smith Bike Show. I mean, that's our crowd, man. That's our boat.
How many years have you been doing that? The Donnie Smith?
My gosh. I think somebody said yesterday 17 or something like
just
that.
Saturday was my first. Oh, you're talking to Zepp. I'm sorry.
Been around for a while, just like the Donnie Smith Bike Show. Not all 35 or 36 of them, but I mean, it's a spring reunion. All the folks we see in the summer and go out and do the bike rides with or on the boat or whatever, we all get back together and go, it's like coming out of hibernation. There you are. But yeah, good times. Thanks for coming out, Steve. And we got to look at a bunch of cool frickin' motorcycles. And
saw an awful lot of cool folks. A tremendous number of KQ listeners, and it was awesome to talk to everybody. I was before I even walked into the building, Becky from South St. Paul had a little chat. We got into Husker Du, talking about Grant Hart. They went to high school together, had a whole thing, and it was great. Like, as I'm walking into the building, I have this wonderful conversation, and it set the tableau, if you will, the table, because from that moment on, every 5 steps there was another KQ listener, including not the second, but the third Steve Gorman in the metro area. Not my dentist, but another patient of my dentist, Steve Gorman, another man named Steve Gorman, who had been accosted and asked for his autograph. He said, "I'm not that Steve Gorman," and they called him an asshole for it.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
That's always a good feeling, though, when you walk in and there's people right away. It's like going into a party and getting a big wave as soon as you walk in.
That was great. It was great. Everybody that came out.
The hamsters? Were you introduced to the hamsters?
100%. A lot of hamster love in the room, and was happy to talk with some hamsters. There was so much. We'll touch on it again, I'm sure, throughout the show, because it really was an awesome day. And apparently, I said, what did I say? Oh, that's right. I said, let's get on some of these bikes and ride this summer. So it looks like I got to get on a bike and ride this summer.
Oh, doggone it!
Open my big mouth.
What we do for work.
That's it. If I have to do it, if I got to drink Goldschlager and sled, I'll do it. If I got to ride an awesome bike, I'll do it.
Like trucking in on a snow day, man.
Sacrifices
we'll do it.
I make for radio.
Gosh. We're going to keep on making these sacrifices. Hang out. Coming back at 6:20. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Monday, March 25th. That was Led Zeppelin's The Ocean from Houses of the Holy. Led Zeppelin bassist John Paul Jones spent the weekend in Knoxville, Tennessee, playing at something called the Big Ears Festival at the Tennessee Theater, which is an really nice old theater in downtown Knoxville. He played both Friday and Saturday night. The same set. The show opened. There is an orchestra pit. It's like an old-timey theater. There's an orchestra pit, and there's they have a lift, like where the orchestra would normally sit. There's like a giant dumbwaiter for, if there's any production values, if you want something to rise out of the floor, they have the capability. And John Paul Jones, bassist of Led Zeppelin, set started where he, sitting at a 1928 Wurlitzer pipe organ, rose from the bottom, up out of nowhere onto the stage, and he performs just on organ, no vocals. Your Time Is Gonna Come from Led Zeppelin 1 on this ancient old pipe organ, and it was really cool. And then he switched to bass for Ramble On, piano, No Quarter, and Since I've Been Loving You, mandolin for Going to California, and then he sits down with a pedal steel and plays When the Levee Breaks, all by himself, doesn't sing a note. It's just instrumental versions of Led Zeppelin songs, and he's just ridiculous. You can find all these clips on YouTube. People are there like any concert, and it just reminds you that like he's the last guy in Led Zeppelin that people ever talk about or notice, because you've got Percy the Viking god up front, then you've got Jimmy Page the wizard, and then you got Bonzo, the craziest, greatest drummer, and then that fourth guy is actually plays every instrument, and he's you could make a strong argument as far as just pure God-given talent. He laps the field with his bandmates. John Paul Jones is just such a spectacular musician. He used to play, or he spent a lot of time in Nashville over the last 20, 25 years. And there were nights, there's a little bluegrass joint right downtown called the Station Inn. It's just a hole in the wall in the Gulch. And he just would pop in. I mean, no announcement, just show up and bring a mandolin and sit in and play bluegrass for hours. And every day he would every time he did it, you'd wake up the next morning and everybody's like, I was at the Station Inn last night and John Paul Jones walked in and holy crap. Just living the life of being the anonymous guy in Led Zeppelin. Probably the coolest way to go through life I can imagine.
Yeah, that's cool.
I always had to, who was the bass player in Led Zeppelin? I'd go, bass player in Led Zeppelin. I'm sorry, who was the bass player in Led Zeppelin? Then I watched a couple of documentaries, and one of them wasn't that long ago. Within the last 10 years, Jimmy Page going back through the vaults of some of the Led Zeppelin stuff, and he kept saying, then John would, or John Paul came up with this, or John Paul brought in the mandolin, or he really produced that, and you're like, oh man, I mean, a lot of these, peak classics from Led Zeppelin, so many of them, he was majorly involved in. So, I mean, just kind of backing what you're saying. I learned late in life.
Yeah, there's any keyboards you hear, and that's from like the organ on Your Time Is Gonna Come, or, Misty Mountain Hop, the piano, there's the synthy stuff on In the Light, all that weird sort of, and, No Quarter has that whole section in the middle. John Paul Jones is just spectacular and just dry as hell, just really funny, and just couldn't be bothered to care less about rock fans and how insane it was. He was just like, no, I really like playing music. I really I just want to go be great at everything. And to this day, John Paul Jones still is, of course, longtime member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as a member of Led Zeppelin. The fan vote for this year's nominees, we've got a change in the order now. Dave Matthews Band has become the number one fan band, 367,000 votes, and Foreigner is now in the second position, having overtaken Ozzy Osbourne in the fan vote. Candace, have you voted for Ozzy? I mean, what's going on here, Donna?
Of course I voted.
You can vote every day.
Of course, it matters.
It does matter.
I think with Ozzy, it's almost a foregone conclusion. They're going to put Ozzy's going in. I mean, he's in for Black Sabbath. He's going in as a solo artist. I don't think that's even questioned. So I think maybe it's the Foreigner and Dave Matthews fans that are looking for that push. Foreigner fans getting to vote for, or people that feel passionate about Foreigner being in the Hall of Fame are finally getting a chance to vote for him. And I don't know what to tell you about Dave Matthews, except that they have a huge following, and they've only been selling out shows for about 30 years, maybe.
Solid 30. I think Sinead O'Connor is a lock. I think that Ozzy is a lock. And really, that's it. I wouldn't be surprised. Those two, I'll bet the farm on. Anybody else, like every other year with the Rock Hall of Fame, I'll go like, oh, really? Well, all right, fair enough. Whatever, shows you what I know, which is the less I know about the comings and goings at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and what's happening behind the scenes, probably the better.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's how that goes.
Whole lot of people over the weekend with egg on their face about this Kate Middleton thing. I was listening to Mike Evans, I'm sure, is going to plunge into this. If he doesn't, we'll give you some of this audio from TV host and mindless vloggers digging in the Kate Middleton thing, which I haven't really been following. You can't miss it. I mean, every time you click on your computer, there's and you're curious. You're like, oh, well, what's happening with these kooks now? Well, now we all know, and a bunch of people are just big dumbasses. Mike Evans, Hollywood Report, coming quickly. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
This is the KQ Morning Show for Monday, March the 25th. What a weekend it was. I can hardly wait to hear what's on Mike Evans' mind. It's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, good morning, Steve, Candace, Tony, Zepp. Good morning, everybody. This report brought to you by our good friends at Marcus Theaters. Tomorrow, $6 for any movie you want to see at any Marcus Theaters. They are simply the best. Boy, a lot has happened since we last spoke, folks. Since we last spoke, the most horrible news was about the Princess of Wales, Catherine, being diagnosed with cancer. And there is a Hollywood twist to this, a spin. I can't help but remember the countless snide, rude, and mean comments Meghan Markle has made about Catherine after Meghan married that clown Harry. Catherine tried to welcome Meghan into the family, but Meghan actually looked down on Catherine because she wasn't a Hollywood star. Meghan's comments became even more demeaning about Catherine as time went on. And meanwhile, Harry either didn't care or couldn't control Meghan as the mean comments continued. That made Catherine's husband, understandably so, Prince William, furious and demanded that Meghan apologize. Well, Harry just ignored his brother's request, and Meghan just laughed it off. Meanwhile, poor Prince William has 3 children to care for, a wife with serious cancer, his father, King Charles, dying of cancer, a brother who is a wimp, and a hideous sister-in-law. Boy, Prince William has his plate full. Well, Steve, I'll be anxious to hear what you think about this. There will be an unofficial meeting in the offices of Major League Baseball in New York this week trying to get to the bottom of, did baseball's greatest player, Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, bet millions of dollars of stolen money from his superstar buddy? Or did Ohtani know about it, allowed it, was involved, maybe even bet on baseball through his buddy over the last couple of years? Well, man, I certainly hope not. Hopefully, Ohtani knew nothing about it. Only time will tell. But Ohtani and his interpreter have been best friends since, well, for many, many years. So this is going to be interesting. And with that horrible story, I'm reminded of another horrible story, and I think Steve would agree with me. The previously greatest baseball player, Pete Rose, who admitted he occasionally bet on baseball when he played and was thrown out of baseball, denied being ordained into baseball's Hall of Fame, which I don't know about you, Steve, but I think was wrong. I think he should have been allowed in the Hall of Fame for his ability on the field. I knew Pete Rose when I was a young sportscaster, even hung out with him from time to time. Great guy back then. If you go to my website, evansradio.com, I posted an old picture of Pete and I hanging back in the good old days. Check out that picture if you can. Hey, have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Mike Evans. See ya.
There's your Mike Evans Hollywood Report. A couple things in reverse order. Well, Pete Rose was great to people who liked him. He was a complete douchebag to anybody who ever questioned him. And he's a great example of honey or vinegar. What is that? You can catch more flies with honey or something like that.
Yeah.
Just looking down at, just treated all the journalists, all the baseball writers like dirt. And guess who votes on that stuff? And then, of course, refused to cop to his offenses when the commissioner of baseball is going, hey, just confess, just come clean and we can work it out. And he's like, no. When you plead guilty, the judge in life generally gives you a better deal. And by the time he did cop to it, it was way too late. Kate Middleton. Sorry, go ahead, Zep.
No, I was just going to say, like 15 years later, he finally, begrudgingly, I might have on a couple of games. All right, Pete. Yeah, most hits in Major League Baseball. Tough to think that a person like that's not in the Hall of Fame, but I haven't heard a lot of people that love the guy, and I think he just did it to himself. But
no, 100%. Without question, should be in the Hall of Fame, and it's his own fault that he's not. Kate Middleton, as you just heard Mike Evans talking about, the Princess of Wales, or she's going to be the queen one day, or I don't know. But she's just been missing for a few months, and of course the world was really giving the royal family a lot of grief. TMZ Investigates ran a special Thursday night And then Friday morning, Kate comes out and says, "Oh, by the way, sorry, I've got cancer." It was a huge go piss off everybody who was questioning me. And we've got here's a little touch of the nonsense swirling around this woman going underground for a while.
Kate Middleton, the future Queen of England, just disappeared.
What is going on with Kate?
Kate Middleton had a facelift.
She actually donated an organ to Charles. The real reason Kate Middleton is in hiding is because William actually got somebody pregnant, but it's not her.
The official word, abdominal surgery, but no one's buying what the palace is selling.
Yeah.
Two things can be true. One is everybody overreacted and was completely ridiculous. And two, the royal family and their communications team just blotched this like no one's business. You can't just, like the fact that they put that Photoshop photo out and then she tweeted, "Sorry, my fault." They didn't protect her at all in this. So there's a lot of blame to go around in every direction except to the woman at the middle of this who, of course, any reasonable thinking person would hope she gets well soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's they just went incommunicado. So you're taking one of paparazzi's biggest topics in the world,
right,
certainly in England, and you're just going incommunicado. She went in for surgery, and we're not going to say anything now for several months. Someone has to come out and point and saying she's going through a tough medical time, and the family's looking for some privacy. At least throw that out there. I don't remember hearing that. And you started to scratch your head and went, "Now what have they done, William? What have you done?" But you don't buy. I don't know. We don't follow it and really latch onto it. But then she comes out with that, and it's
well, I do feel like this entire thing could also very well be this is going to get everyone's attention so no one notices what we're really trying to hide, because that's just how the Windsors have rolled forever. Never going to be on there. I mean, she seems like a lovely gal, but
sure.
Come on, behind the scenes, those people are crazy. All right, let's look back.
Now listen, everybody.
I am Steve,
And now I'm going to teach you a lesson.
Oh, I'll teach you a lesson. On this day in 1982, Wayne Gretzky, who was then 21 years old, got 2 goals and assisted on 2 more. 6 points in a game that gave him 203. He was the first player in league history to score 200 points in a season. He's done it 4 times. In fact, still the only man to ever get 200 points in a season. Of the top 10 scoring seasons ever, 8 belong to Wayne Gretzky. The other 2, Mario Lemieux, who once had 199 points. God, that just keeps him up at night. 199 when 200 is the ultimate goal. That's the guy. That's literally the guy who's 4 steps away from the summit of Mount Everest and goes, "I think I better turn around right now. I think I got I got to get back, guys. I'm losing my oxygen."
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Monday, March 25th. Don't Stop Believing by Journey right there. I mean, it's ubiquitous. It's omnipresent. We've heard that song for 40 plus years. It's just a part of everyone's life that you know. And according to the Recording Industry Association of America, that song as a single has now been certified platinum 18 times over in the United States. And they, in fact, have named it the biggest song ever in America.
Ever.
18 million is a number that there's actually only one other single has been platinum 18 times, and that is from last year, a Post Malone and Sway Lee song called Sunflower. So there's 2 songs that stand apart. One I've heard, Don't Stop Believing, and another I just heard about for the first time ever, which tells you what sort of hole in the sand my head's in terms of recently released music. But Don't Stop Believing, kind of crazy to think it never made it past number 9 on the chart when it was released back in the day, 1981. And oddly enough, I mean, there's not a chorus until like the very end of they don't say "Don't Stop Believing" until the end of the song. You are past the guitar solo. In fact, the melody of the chorus is the first time you hear it's the guitar solo. You don't even hear it. And And Steve Perry and Neil Schon were arguing about that in the studio. He's like, you can't play the solo to be the melody I haven't even sung yet. And Neil said, back off, Steve. I think I got a good idea here. And Steve said, yeah, but I'm Steve and you're only Neil. And then Neil won, and he won the battle in the war, apparently.
Yeah. That song, the whole thing is a chorus. I remember Sid the Kid being in grade school at a gymnastics meet, and we're waiting for the awards, and they cranked Don't Stop Believin', as they often do. And I watched grandparents, maybe great-grandparents and grandparents and myself and all of the kids sing along to that song, and I went, well, that's a classic. This one will live forever. So, yeah, it'd probably be the good vote for the, I guess, greatest song of all time, the biggest sing-along of all time.
Go figure. These things, they take on a life of their own after a certain point. Of course, it didn't hurt that the Sopranos, just blasted that bad boy right into everyone's subconscious back in 2007 or 8 when that show went off the air. All right, Zepp, I got to get into this. You said something about a story that was too scary for Candace. There's a train. There's a leg. What am I missing?
Let's turn it over to Michael Patterson of KCSO with this breaking news, Steve.
A terrifying video circulating on social media appears to show a man carrying a severed body part of someone killed by a train in Wasco. Sheriff's officials say this happened today near the Wasco Amtrak station on G Street. Eyewitness News reporter Lena Folk has that story, but first, we do want to warn you that some of the footage is disturbing.
I'm not sure from where, but he came this way, and he walked all through here, and he was waving a person's leg, and he started chewing on it over there. He was biting it, and then he was hitting it against the wall and everything. And
it was a typical Friday for the construction workers laying down concrete outside the Amtrak station in Wasco until they saw a horrifying sight.
He's eating it. Hey, ¿se la está comiendo?
You are looking at what a witness says is a man eating a detached leg. The detached leg came from a person hit by a train near the Wasco area.
All right, we can duck out of it. The story goes on for several minutes, and it doesn't get, running it right off the internet. So the audio was a little low. I apologize, but you get the gist of it. Doesn't really go anywhere from there. But yeah, someone out of their mind, clearly, probably appears to be homeless, and I'm sure a fair amount of mental... what's the word I'm looking for? Just a bit nuts, really, I suppose. Mental disability.
Lack of mental acuity.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So anyway, and then this person gets hit by the train at the Amtrak there. Their leg torn off. He grabs it and runs off with it, and then wonders, I suppose, like any nut would, what it tastes like. Starts eating on it.
Zombie.
You think so?
Yeah,
Bath
why
salts?
was he there? He was just happened to be there when this happened. I don't know. Maybe he had a specific zombie draw, and he knew that there was going to be some free flesh waiting around, just waiting in the shadows for it. I think that there's cannibals out there, dude.
Mm-hmm. The leg is easy to carry. I can see that. Throw it over your shoulder.
So the video is disgusting. I can't believe I watched it. I just he was eating it no problem.
Well,
he wasn't nibbling, was he?
Oh man, he was all up in there.
The poor pedestrian who was struck, who lost this leg, they had lost their life already. It's not like they're going to miss the leg. I just got to throw that out there.
Yeah, what? Imagine losing your leg and thinking, get that thing on ice, and then some guy grabs it, runs off, and you watch him start eating your leg.
I don't know, man. I think there's cannibals out there. I'm just going to say it out loud now.
Yeah. There could be. Sure. Well, yeah. There are. We see enough. But
so scary.
A couple times a year, you see a story usually involving the words bath salts and Florida, but this time it's California and Amtrak.
Yeah. And it does say in the story that he was arrested, this guy Tellez, Tellez, without incident on multiple outstanding warrants. So maybe he just wasn't a, mentally ill vagrant. Maybe he's, just a mentally ill career criminal. But yeah, this is, you got to be on something, right? You can't just be plain crazy. You've got to be on something and a fair amount of crazy, I think.
It's a hungry man dinner.
How do you handle a hungry man?
Oh, the manhandlers.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, that reminds me of some beef and barley soup and bean with bacon. Oh, man. Come on. As long as you're talking about chewing human limbs, let's talk about good hearty soups. You know?
All connected.
It's funny because like I've got a couple people. What do you call them? Oh, my wife and my son. And they, if you're sitting at the table eating, and this happened a couple weeks ago. We're sitting around, and then Chauncey's like, I got to go outside. Like right now, I take him outside. He does his business, and I come back in, and as I'm wont to do, I just make the announcement. Oh, he had a big poo, and my son looks. He goes, I'm trying to eat, and I'm like. Yeah,
you still can.
I'm like, you don't have to let that. You don't have to sit there and contemplate what the poo looked like, smelled like, or would then taste like on your plate. It's just information.
You didn't throw the doggy bag on the table of poo.
I didn't realize it was that big a deal. But that's something I've heard from my wife a million times. She's like, I mean, we could be sitting there like, let's just order a pizza, and we'll sit there and we're on the couch and we're having just having dinner right there, and then I'm flipping channels and I'm like, hey, Dr. Pimple Popper. She's like, oh my God, I'm trying to eat. I'm like, what? There's a disconnect. Eat, enjoy your food, look at the gross stuff. It doesn't mean the same thing. Granted, but see, but the point is, it would be different were I sitting in front of the TV with a nice meal, with the aforementioned bean with bacon soup or a slice of pizza, and I saw a guy gnawing a leg. I might that might be enough. That's enough to stop.
The calf is pretty meaty.
Stop!
I mean,
dude.
it is probably the best cut, really.
Oh, my God. So freaky. Like, why was he, how was he, he was just there. He was lurking. Like, he could sense, like, the blood and, like,
I hope that the person who unfortunately gave his leg so we could have this conversation, I hope they ate healthy.
Yeah, right. A good piece of meat. Yeah,
sure. You don't want it to be all
sick.
like sinewy and chewy, ropey. You don't want that.
So Steve Gorman, if we were stuck in a situation like on an island and I died and you were alive, would you eat my leg to survive?
Yeah, that's probably about where I'd start. Sure.
For real?
You got big, strong legs.
Wait, if it's a matter of life or death?
Yeah, I would die. I would never ever. I would just die.
I don't think so. I don't know that that's true. I think if it's life or death, and you recognize I can continue on with my life with a bizarre memory, to be sure, but I'm going to have to eat Steve's foot. I think you'd be. I mean, I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not saying I'd snuff the life out of you to get to that leg. I would let nature have already taken its course, maybe. But the point is just, come on. When you're in that situation, you never know. I don't think that was a situation with this guy at the Amtrak. I think, like you said, he's just a cannibal looking for an easy meal. But if it's you and me, and we're on that far side deserted island with one palm tree, and there's just a room for two of us, and you're gone, and I'm like, and I hear there's someone coming in 7 days. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let's get a fire going. I'm gonna have to check out some of this. Maybe I'd start with those feet. You always were kind of worried about your feet.
I'll tell you what. If you do ingest meat, you're gonna come. Some things are gonna happen to you. You're gonna start turning.
Oh my God.
A little creepy, a little weird. You're gonna start talking weird.
Gonna get all Candace-y.
Yeah. There it goes. He got a belly full and he got kooky. I think I'm sure. Was that your Uruguayan rugby team back in the early 70s, the movie Alive, that went cannibal and their buddies up there?
Sure.
I'm sure each one of them, if interviewed before getting on the plane, hey, by the way, if this plane goes down, here's a little fun question, would have said they probably would not eat their buddies. Of course. It would be difficult if there were a group of people, like the Donner Pass crew, because if it's just you and Candace checks out, you're like, well, no one's watching, I'm actually going to eat her. But if there's a group sitting around, now you've got to wait for someone to make the first move. I would have picked Tony. Once Tony starts eating, then I'm like, all right, I'm in. He's kind of like the Mikey with the Life cereal.
Like the host at the table.
Well, yes, exactly.
Yeah, you think, well, if Tony's doing it, how bad can it be? That's whereas Zepp, if you pull out a knife and fork, everyone's like, of course, look at it. He couldn't wait.
Right. Called it, Zepp.
Yeah, I saw you.
Zepp, she's not dead, dude.
Before I've seen you guys check out my feet before. And
well, you mention them so often.
Yeah.
It's because you mention them on a fairly regular basis, and we tell you all the time, no, you have lovely feet, and then you argue with us, and you say, no, they're terrible, but then it turns into when you leave the room, but I bet they taste great. Yes, that's the conversation we have on a regular basis.
A little Cholula
Candace.
sauce solves that problem.
Man, little Cholula on Candace's toes. Come on. That's good living, people.
Yeah, and she's younger, too. That's better meat. That's like when you're out hunting.
Of course.
You know, you want to shoot a younger animal. A 3-year-old buck, 4-year-old buck, best eating in the world. You get those old, big... Everybody wants the trophy, bad eating usually.
Me, Zepp, and Tony, it's just gristle.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I would have to shave you before I ate you.
Well, you can cook that off. Cook the hair off. Oh, that sounds nice. How would you serve each one of us? Maybe some pineapple. Well, you're on the desert island, so I don't know what you have on there. Maybe some avocado or it grows wild on
the KQRS Facebook page. How would you serve Zepp? What sides would go best with Brian Zepp? Please weigh in.
I think I'd make a good fajita. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just feel like it.
Tony Lee's famous fajitas. Really? What does he do? No, it's him. It's just a green bell pepper, a red bell pepper, some onions, and Tony. I'm telling you, man, it'll set you free.
Look how stringy and tough that old drummer meat would be.
Oh, it's
an old rock star. Oh, for God's sake.
Drummer meat.
Nah, you don't want any part of that. No, it's like always go for the bases first. They've just got.
They're just standing there. They're not doing much.
That's easy.
Can we lighten things up? We do have some students that rescued a mom and her kids, CPR, the whole thing. We could get around to that story. Well, should we lighten things up a little bit?
That's a nice
one. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not. Candace might not be as hip to this. This is definitely an our era movie. But there was a famous, very, very famous movie. Candace, you're very hip to it, I'm sure. Very famous movie that happened yesterday. No, it wasn't released yesterday. Wasn't shot and whatever yesterday. The premise of the movie happened on March 24th, 1984. You know what movie I'm talking about? Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Monday, March the 25th. Good morning. If you're driving in, be careful. It's not too slippery out there, but, knuckleheads are knuckleheads, and you got to keep a swivel head on. It's rain now after the snow. It's a mess. Just be extra safe. We just heard Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me, a song the band had no interest in recording as they had not written it themselves. John Hughes, a writer-director guy from Chicago, had a new movie out, and he really wanted that song to be the theme song for the movie, and he went to Brian Ferry of Roxy Music and said, hey man, please do this. And Brian Ferry went, no, piss off. And then he went, hey, Simple Minds, you guys want to do this? And they said, no, piss off. And then John Hughes sent them a cut of the film, said, just watch the movie and then get back to me. And Jim Kerr, the singer of Simple Minds, watched the movie and went, oh, hell yeah, we're getting in on that. And then in the old be careful what you wish for thing, that became the song that basically everybody just stuck, that Simple Minds. They didn't sound like that really too much. It was a bit of an outlier, and then that's the song they were most known for, which is a mixed blessing to be sure. All things to say, 39 years later, I doubt they're complaining about it too much. Nobody's complaining about the fact that the movie I'm referencing, The Breakfast Club, oh wait, you mean the movie that takes place all in one day at a high school in the suburbs of Chicago? What was that day? Well, it was 39 years ago yesterday.
Saturday, March 24th, 1984. Sherman High School, Sherman, Illinois. Dear Mr. Vernon, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Saturday in detention for whatever it was we did wrong. And you see us as you want to see us. You see us as a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal.
Yeah, I was in college when this thing came out, so of course I was like, who do I care about a bunch of high school kids? I'm a year removed from high school, for God's sakes. Man, The Breakfast Club was like a hurricane. I mean, that movie was just all anybody was talking about for quite a while. Yeah. And it launched the careers of it helped launch the careers of several members of the Brat Pack, and some of the cast members just got oversaturated and overkill really quickly. But sitting in the theater watching that movie, I remember it as clearly as any other movie I've ever sat in the theater and watched. just never seen anything where I actually was like, this is exactly how high school kids talk. This could absolutely, it felt to me at the time, be very, very, very real. And in large part because one of the key scenes of that film where they all sit around and have the confession circle, most of it improvised.
Oh, really?
John Hughes gave the cast members some bullet points and said, just go. Let's see what we come up with.
Yeah.
And so they knew they knew like some basic point. Like Emilio Estevez, the wrestler, he knew what he was going to say as to why he was in there, and they had enough of an understanding of who each character was that those kids. Well, some of them were kids. Judd Nelson was like 26, but he was a pretty convincing kid. They wing that whole scene, which is probably the most powerful scene of the movie.
Yeah, there's so many scene after scene just continue to work, and each one of those kids, young actors, represented the clique or part of the clique we were a part of when we were growing up. I also a year removed from high school because it came out in 1985, and I, through a little misunderstanding, was asked to be the guest of a local county jail for 48 hours. It was one of those deals. They said, well, you can come back and just spend your 2 days whenever you want to spend your 2 days. It really wasn't anything too serious, but we were all getting our 2 days in jail, and I decided to go over Easter weekend because I would have to tell fewer people about it. Because Easter weekend you were off, go do your own thing, and you get away with it. So I picked Easter weekend to go in. And so I have a few hours to kill before they have a specific time that you show up and they throw you in, and then you get out 48 hours later. I had a few hours to kill when I got to town near the jail, so I went to the local movie theater. The Breakfast Club is playing. I think I heard something about it. It's been out for a couple of months, kind of a big movie, and I went in and watched that. And then walked off to jail like I was some sort of Cool Hand Luke. Like I was Bender, man. Like, yeah, I'm going to jail.
Yeah, nice.
I'm going to spend my detention time, and this is about me, man. And then you get there and go, they put you in an orange jumpsuit, and you went, oh, movie's over. This isn't like the movie. This isn't fun detention. No. You mess with the bull, you get the horns.
Not too cool. Tony, I don't think you were going to jail when you went to see The Breakfast Club, but I'm sure you remember as well seeing this movie.
I think I told you that before. I went to see it in the big theater, and I actually won. There was a contest. I won a Breakfast Club mug under my seat. That's what I remember. But that was the magic and the brilliance of John Hughes, is that he could be so funny, and he captured the realistic, really poignant dialogue of kids of that age.
He originally saw this as a series. Do you remember there was an old British documentary, and I think it was called 7 Up? Where they followed these kids at the age of 7, and then they went back at 14, at 21, at 28, at 35. It was all the way through. I mean, it started in the 50s, and every 7 years, these filmmakers in England would just check in on this group of kids they had met when they were all 7. And it's amazing every 7 years. Sometimes, the kid that was the most likely to had gone to jail. The total screw up at 14 had started their own store at 21. I mean, you never know what to expect. And John Hughes' original plan for The Breakfast Club was going to be a subsequent series of films where you check in on these people every 6, 7, 8 years. He wanted to do that exact same thing. Didn't at the time didn't feel like, and no one felt like that was really worth it. I guess he couldn't get the backing for that, which is kind of shocking because 7 or 8 or however many years later, if there'd been a follow up to these characters, the lines would have been around every block in America.
True.
It's kind of crazy. Couple things about The Breakfast Club. The janitor, Carl. Great character. There is a scene very quickly where on the high school on the back of a wall you see a plaque where they have the Shermer High Man of the Year, and he had been that 20 years ago. He was like the most likely to do everything great guy. You could just see it in the background. Rick Moranis was actually originally cast as the janitor.
Oh,
Rick Moranis from SCTV, from Ghostbusters. He wanted to play the part, and he insisted on playing the part as a Russian immigrant with a really over-the-top accent. And John Hughes was like, what are you talking? No. Why? And that's what they split over the role of. And a few other things about the movie that really are pretty great, which is this is one of the rare movies. They shot it in sequence. They shot the film in order.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which I'm sure made it much better for the cast. They just got into a role. It was almost like the way you rehearse a play as opposed to a film. And it makes sense because you're just in one setting. You don't have a bunch of different places to go shoot. But there was so much about this film that when it hit was just like, it was just astounding on every level. It was perfectly edited. The soundtrack was great. The performances were great. The writing was amazing. It was just one of those rare catches the zeitgeist so perfectly. And John Hughes always said this was supposed to be the first film I ever directed. He brought this. This is where John Hughes was in the world. He went to the studio and had this script and 16 Candles and said, I have 2 films. I'm going to direct them both. And the studio said, okay, do 16 Candles first. He's like, all right, I'll do that one first. But they were both written, just finished. Here, I got these 2. Which one do you want first?
All right. Then his movies blew up, and he was just doing one movie after another that was a big hit. I didn't go back and see 16 Candles until after The Breakfast Club came out. And maybe I'd even seen Uncle Buck or something. I forget which, maybe Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and then decided to maybe go back. And, what else does he have? VHS tapes were coming out in the mid-1980s. I was like, 16 Candles is one of his. Another great meal. Of course, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Weird Science, Get Stewed But Wad from Bill Paxton, one of my favorite lines from Weird Science, and Uncle Buck and all that stuff.
He was on an incredible tear. But so anyway, it's 39 years actually, but the
40.
day it took place is 40 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. I was confused when you said that. You confused me.
Questions? Yeah. I got a question. Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
He's so hot. Well, he was.
Who, Judd Nelson?
Yeah, it was really because I watched the movie in high school because my favorite band at the time, Yellow Card, covered Simple Minds, and it was really cool to listen to that song. And then there were like clips of The Breakfast Club in the song, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" So I actually found the movie through that song. So thank you, Yellow Card.
Okay, whatever happened to Yellow Card?
They are touring right now. I saw them last year at Riot Fest. It was pretty sick.
A Riot Fest, Yellow Card at Riot Fest.
Yeah,
All
they
right.
had a banging album, man, because they had a freaking violinist in it.
Didn't see that coming.
Hardcore.
Hardcore violinist.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
I don't think I never saw any Breakfast Club merch. Like, I guess you could just get a flannel shirt and some fingerless gloves to do the Bender look, but like official licensed Breakfast Club merch, other than the aforementioned coffee mug, of course, that Tony Lee won in the contest.
Maybe an Anthony Michael Hall thermos.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty good. But there's a recent study, the highest demand for merchandise between TV and film over the last few years. Unsurprisingly, Barbie right now is getting over 150,000 searches, 152,000 monthly search volume. This is average monthly figures in the U.S. since January of 23. Is looking specifically for merch. Barbie leads the pack in a big way. Spider-Man, still Harry Potter, Batman. All these are. I can see this. Like Batman, Star Wars, Godzilla. Sure. Number 8 on the list. People are looking for Oppenheimer merch. What on earth?
Fedora?
I was going to say maybe the hat. The hat would be cool. Yeah. The goggles with the leather black flaps on the side. The goggles to watch a nuclear explosion with. Those would kind of be cool. Those always come.
Welding goggles. Yeah,
I could see that. The suit where you hike your pants up well past the navel, and then you lose 30 pounds in order to fit into that thing, and then it's way too big for you. I guess that was the look of the time. Oppenheimer merch. That's just not one. I don't think the studio was really gearing up for a merch run when they were putting that movie together.
Action figures.
Oppenheimer action figures.
I just want one of the bomb. Just maybe a little bomb or something.
I got my Oppenheimer action figures. Oh my God! Oppenheimer and Einstein are going to stand by the lake. Move his hand. Shake hands. Hey, it's Albert Einstein. Way to go! And now here comes Robert Downey Jr.'s character. Shun him. Turn your back on him. That's not exactly action figure fun. It'd be way better if they'd thrown because if you give me Oppenheimer action figures, Oppenheimer's throwing Einstein right into the lake, literally. Pick him up over his head, throw him. The way G.I. Joe used to always kick Ken's ass.
Right.
There was a Ken in the house. My sister had outgrown him, so we had G.I. Joes, and Ken would be their whipping boy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Ken's he's gonna get pistol whipped by G.I. Joe.
My God, no question about it. I can't imagine how much Star Wars merch has been sold over 40 some odd years, 50 years.
Yeah.
Coming up on 50 years. And, I saw the very first Star Wars. I saw The Empire Strikes Back. I saw Return of the Jedi, the original 3.
Yeah.
And then all the reboots. I've never seen any of the second or third or fourth. I don't even know how many there are. There's like 5 or 6 more. Never saw any of them. And I guess I've always known how big Star Wars is, but a couple of years ago, somebody basically compared it. They said, well, Star Wars for film, it's like the Beatles. It has the longest tentacles. It's worldwide. And they made this point saying, as the Beatles are bigger now than they've ever been, so's the Star Wars franchise and the amount of money it's generated and all this. And I was like, I'm not going to argue the point. There's a bunch of those movies, and they are huge. Every generation discovers Star Wars. It's kind of mind-boggling to me. But how about this? So there's 9 films. On May 4th, as in May the 4th, of course, May the 4th be with you, every year, there's a Star Wars mega marathon in the works that day at select theaters. All 9 of the Skywalker saga films are going to be played on the big screen. And this is to celebrate the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace, an aforementioned movie that I've never seen. Moviegoers who attend the May 4th event, you're going to receive a poster that will basically just remind you spent an entire calendar day. You spent 21 hours in a movie theater watching every single movie. Yeah. So wait, not back to 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 back.
Get a poster.
What's a movie theater hold? Maybe 200 people. So 198 guys and 2 women in the theater
who lost bets.
Who lost bets? Right.
Yep.
Yeah. That sounds grueling, to be honest with you, especially considering the last 3 they made. But I'm sure it's going to do big money.
I could do all 3 Godfathers, but I would sleep through most of Godfather 3. Just saying. The first 2 are. Andy Garcia is great in the movie. I'll give him credit. And watching Michael die at the end. Spoiler alert: Michael dies at the end.
What?
I remember, just in the theater going, "This is the worst movie I've ever." Oh my God, he's dead! Like,
perfect.
So I walked out emotionally charged.
Yeah.
But compared to the first 2, there is no comparison.
I thought Godfather 4 really kind of brought it back, though.
What was the twist and turns in Godfather 4? I can't remember.
I have to Google it. It's been a while.
Fredo comes to power.
Fredo comes back to life.
Resurrected.
Yep,
yeah, he's not dead.
Al Pacino's legs.
Connie Corleone is named president of the United States.
Yeah. Go Connie.
Papa always wanted a senator. He didn't know he'd get the first female president. Godfather 4, Talia Shire.
Somebody,
the POTUS
it's been
with
pitched.
The mostest.
You laugh, but it's been pitched. I'm sure it's been pitched.
There's no question it's been pitched. I'm curious if anybody out there can go see 9 Star Wars films in a theater in one day and ever again or has ever before had sex with another person. I just would imagine not. I don't know much about incel culture, but something tells me that's who's going to sit through 9 straight Star Wars films.
Yeah.
You are celibate, and it's not your choice. Just going to throw that out there.
No, but they'll probably be our boss someday. They'll probably own our company, but, good for them.
These things happen. Better the Star Wars nerd than the bully. You know what I mean? At least assuming those are mutually exclusive groups. I don't think the people who are going to go check out 21 hours of Star Wars are jerks or obnoxious.
I don't know about that.
Bullied.
No?
The only time I ever saw Star Wars in the theater was the most recent one that was out, and it was because I got free tickets, and there was the hot guy that was going, and so we went together, and I sat next to him, but turns out he was a real jerk. So
how long ago was this?
I don't know, like 2 years, 3 probably.
There was one like in the last 3 or 4 years. I didn't even realize
something happened in the line. I don't know. That was the only Star Wars movie I ever saw, but it had all the same people.
That's the one you've ever seen ever in any context.
Yes.
You've never seen the very first one.
I think it was on when I was a kid, but I didn't
really
laser focus into it.
Wow, I'm surprised.
Really?
Yeah, there's that first one. Of course, I've seen them all, but there's that first one. And after that, I don't geek out too much. So the first one is like the first Raiders of the Lost Ark or Jaws or something for me. It's a movie, The Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's a movie that came out when I was a kid that connects me to it, that I still like to toss on every once in a while. But by the time the third one came out, I think I was 18 at that time, and Star Wars was getting a little uncool, and there was the whole Ewok thing. And of course, I went and watched it, but I wasn't in the club, as it were.
Yeah,
buying
same.
the toys.
I was in college for Empire Strikes, or for Return of the Jedi, and it was definitely like I thought. The first one, everybody obsessed about it. Empire Strikes Back was just badass. That's the best of the original three to me by far. And then Return of the Jedi was like, oh come on, this Yoda guy and these little Ewoks. And,
See, I think they're cute. I want to watch that new show. That's different. The Mandalorian.
That's
Baby Yoda's cute.
Yeah.
Yoda is like, after a while, just put your verbs in front of the nouns and shut up. Just the whole.
I can't even do the Yoda thing. I agree, but George Lucas has the greatest comeback because Star Wars nerds now are in their 50s and 60s, and they're constantly ambushing him about plot lines and why didn't you ever do this, and you know what, that it doesn't line up with Star Wars canon that Darth Vader was, and they always say, and he always has the same comeback for them, which I think is perfect, and it even puts us in our place when we start talking about it. He goes, I made those for kids, right? Yeah. Those are kids' movies.
That's exactly
just
right.
For the kiddos. Yeah, because I was thinking 12 and under. Now I'm sorry, you're 48. What's your beef with Star Wars? And they're like, well, because Darth Vader couldn't possibly have been his father if in the first movie. Yeah, shut up.
I was a kid when the first one came out. Of course, I believe was at 77. So I was somewhere I turned 12. I had a Star Wars T-shirt way before I ever saw the movie because I was in a small town. It didn't get there initially, but it was already like on the cover of Time. I already knew what C-3PO was, what R2-D2 was, what Chewbacca was. And this is pre-internet, pre-cable. But these things were already in the culture somehow. I guess word of mouth and then the occasional, like I said, a Time magazine piece. So I had a T-shirt that was, my mom just came home like, hey, honey, I got you this T-shirt. And it was C-3PO and R2-D2. And I was like, that's cool. That makes me cool to have that shirt. By the time the movie got to my town and we went to see it, me and some buddies, I remember sitting and watching it the first time. I had absolutely no idea what was happening. I was so confused by every single thing about that movie. It completely eluded me. And then at the end, there was some exciting stuff, and he blew up a thing, and then everybody celebrated. And I walked out of that theater completely, and I told everyone I saw, it's the greatest movie I've ever seen. And I had no idea what I had just watched. I couldn't keep track with, wait, who's the good guy? Wait, the rebels are the good guys? I was so confused. And I went back and saw it, and the second time, it all fell into place. Like, oh, I see. Oh, I got it. I see. But I can remember, like, the first time R2-D2 does that little freak out, and then he sort of, his projector opens up, and there's Princess Leia going, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're the only one. I'm literally 6th grade, summer before 6th and 7th grade going, what the hell how does anyone know what any of this means? Why is this guy breathing like that? What has happened? I was just nothing but bewildered.
Right. And, and of course, George Lucas had written this movie, and like they did like with Dune or whatever, it's 12 hours long, and the studio says, yeah, you got to cut that down to about an hour 20, and then we'll stick it in the movie theaters. They thought it might be a bomb itself. No one really thought it was going to take off. So, yeah, you've got all this. I had the advantage of, and I remember getting busted going back to school after that summer of 1997. Everyone had seen it. It was the biggest movie ever. Even I knew that, isolated out there on the farm, but Dad wasn't taking us into a movie. That cost $1 or something, plus the gas to drive into 25 miles into town. So I didn't see it when we went back to school, and I was embarrassed. But my mom's always there to save you from embarrassment, and she bought me the book. The book based on the movie, word for word. So I read the book like 4 times. And they elaborated in the book, and I'd go to school. Yeah. Or like that time, the reason Darth Vader is blah, blah, and that happened. They're like, how do you know that? You guys didn't see it? Never mind.
Yeah.
But
by the way, I had the exact same experience because there was an Animal House book in the Gorman household. And I went
that was
deep.
A book?
Yeah, well, yeah, it looked like a Faber yearbook.
Yeah.
And it had the actual script, but then there were scenes that had been edited out and cut, and I read those, and I was like, man, these are hilarious. And there was like it had been signed by like a yearbook. He signed my yearbook, and they had different characters with different. Yeah, it was really great. It's probably on eBay right now for $19,000, limited edition run.
Yeah, right.
One of my older brothers found it somewhere. Hey, the men's basketball tournament and your chance to win $1 million is underway. You can see how your picks stack up against the rest of the Twin Cities in our $1 million bracket challenge at 92kqrs.com. Still going on. Hey, if your bracket is perfect, let's not kid ourselves. I don't think there's any perfect brackets left. You could score $1 million. The best bracket in the Twin Cities will also take home a prize. Sponsored locally by Xfinity 10G, the network made for streaming. Check out where you are. See how well you're doing. Contest rules and everything else at 92kqrs.com.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Monday, March the 25th. Good morning. We just heard Tom Petty's Learning to Fly. You probably remember the video for that song. Tom and the band out in the desert in Arizona. There's an old airplane graveyard, they call it out there. And so in the video, they're standing on the wings of grounded airplanes, desert scenery. Pretty big video in 1991. That summer, that video was playing on MTV constantly. And when Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were in Arizona shooting that video, they were out there in the desert all day, and then somebody said, oh, there's a gig in town tonight. It was either Tucson or Phoenix. I can't remember. I think it was Tucson. And that gig was the Black Crowes, my band. We were on tour, and the record had taken off. This is towards the end of our first tour cycle, but, we had started selling a lot of records, and things were good. We're in a theater, and we didn't know that they were coming down to the show. We go play our show, and we're doing the show, and we're having a good time doing the show, as you do. Gig ends, well, the set ends, right? And so you have that encore break. I walk off stage, and as I'm walking towards the side of the stage, I'm like, that dude looks just like Tom Petty, because there's a guy standing there on the side of the stage. And then I thought, that guy next to him looks just like Mike. Holy crap, that's Tom Petty and Mike Campbell. Cool. And that's Ben Montench. And that's Stan Lynch. I'm like, the entire band is right there on the clump on the side of the stage.
And that's where you tripped and fell.
And I damn near did. And so as I walked by, I had to pee. Like, I just thought, this is great. I'm gonna go talk to Stan, the drummer, first, but then I'm gonna have a moment with these guys, and that's so cool. And I bet we'll all hang out afterwards, and this is great. But I gotta run down those stairs and go to the dressing room because I gotta pee. And I go do that, and then as I walk back up to go back on stage, Tom's still standing there. I said, hey, Tom. He goes, hey, man, sounds good. I'm like, all right, thanks. I said, I'll check you in a minute. And I'm thinking, this is going to be awesome. And I go out on, and then I remember, and I don't remember what it was, but I came up with an idea during the encore. I realized, I have a great thing to talk to him about. I had a question or a story, and I knew this was going to be a compelling story. I wouldn't sound like a douchebag fan, goof kid. Anyway, I spent the entire encore, 2 or 3 songs, thinking about how cool it was going to be to hang out with the Heartbreakers. And we walked off stage, and they took off. They weren't there.
I tell you what, there's nothing like a musician that can disappear right into thin air, just right in front of you. We don't have anyone like that around here, where you might be out at a public appearance and suddenly they just poof. You've got for a 6'3" dude quite a knack for just no one ever sees Steve leave. It's amazing.
I can make an appearance, and God knows I can get the hell out.
I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate it.
You hate that?
I don't like when people do Irish goodbyes. It's rude and mean.
It's
Yes.
not rude and mean.
Yes.
I have a life. I have a schedule.
You can hug me goodbye. What if you died on your way home?
Then you'd be man, I know Steve was a friend and he cared about me, and I know that because I'm an adult with a rational mind.
Not enough to say goodbye. I would just hold a grudge even over you're dead.
Here, I tell you what. You know what we can do? I'm more than happy to meet you outside and give you a hug goodbye. But you start saying goodbye, and then you got to add 60 minutes into your night. Generally speaking, I'm from a family of big time. Everyone hugs. Everyone has a great time. You all get together. I spent my life at large family events just going, where is the exit? I mean, when it's time to go, it's time to go. Because I don't sense it coming. I'm not an hour out and I think, oh, I should probably start wrapping it up. I play hard. I fight till then I hear the bell and then it's gone. I always say there's a gong in the distance and I hear it out of nowhere, just... I'm like, oh, I got to go right now. I never know when it's going to happen, but I also don't question it. And the other day at the Donnie Smith Bike Show, to your point, Zepp, we have been having a good time. Been there for a few hours. I'm talking with people. Right. You and I were having a lot of laughs. We're walking around talking. Great hanging with all kinds of people there. And then you were on stage doing your thing. You got a mic in your hand. You're announcing things and doing giveaways and all that stuff. And I actually did for a couple minutes. I was like, man, I could hear you, but I couldn't see you. You were off the stage. I was like, where did that guy go? And then I did do a little bit of a cursory look around, and I was like, you know what? He's tied up. He's busy, and that's going to take me 15 minutes to find him, and then 10 minutes. And then next thing you know, I'm driving my car. I'm like, I don't even know how I got here. I'm driving.
Unlike Candace, not every goodbye is the final goodbye. It's not emotional. I don't hang on. And, Steve, man, if I hope you make it home, and maybe I'll see you on Monday. No, I'm cool with that. I'm kind of like that myself. When I say I have to go to the bathroom, that's my goodbye.
Right.
And I say, hey, listen, I got to hit the pisser here. Just know that that's me saying goodbye because that's what I'm doing.
That's exactly
going to pee,
right.
And then I'm the exit doors are always right by the restrooms. You notice that?
I did send you a text. I wrote, I'm out.
Yeah, you did. No, I wasn't even really speaking to them at all the times. Even like we went out and saw a comedy show. We all get up very early, and I think it was we're over at Acme, and I think it may have even been on a school night. But yeah, that sort of thing. There was a little break in the action, and I turned to my left. I had a 6'3" radio host sitting. I mean, I could reach over and put my hand on his hand lovingly during the tender moments of the comedy set. But I look right over to him to do that. Hey, so what? Just gone.
Listen, man, like any good sitcom character, I know, leave the room on a joke. And leave the room when everyone's looking in the other direction. That's the
leave
the rules.
Them wanting more. The stealth exit is pretty impressive.
The stealth exit's the way to go, man. Because Candace, to your point, you never know. Like, what if something goes wrong? I didn't say goodbye. I didn't hug you, and that was it. What if you drove your car off the side of the road? Well, I'm not worried about that because what if I do? And then what if 5 college students happen to be driving by and save the day, which is exactly what happened on Friday. This is a wild story from Georgia, a very rural part of Georgia. A woman and her 2 sons driving. Well, let's let her tell you what happened.
I just was too close to the edge of the road, hit a pothole or a bump or something, and lost control of the car. And next thing I know, I was in the water. Actually was able to get out through the sunroof that had shattered. And then whenever I got up, it was immediately get my kids. 4 of the 5 kind of jumped in, and I think one of them called 911. Whenever I got my youngest out of the car, one of the girls did CPR on him to start getting him to breathe again, getting the water out of his lungs.
This is what we were just listening to. It's a little confusing. Woman driving in her car with her 2 young sons. She said she had a pothole or something. Next thing you know, she goes down a 140-foot embankment and goes into a creek. Dang. She escapes her car through the sunroof and then is trying to get her 2 boys out of the car. Another car driving by saw them go off the side of the road. That car contained 5 University of Georgia students, 5 girls who pulled over, ran down, and 4 of them dove in the water, pulled the children out of the car, got her to the bank, and as she just said, one of those college students gave one of her sons CPR to get him breathing again.
Wow.
Literally saved their lives. This is crazy real-life hero stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And think of about a 140-foot embankment these kids had to go down to this crash site, into this creek. And, I mean, there couldn't have been a moment of hesitation. It had to be just leap into action to get those kids out of there. That's working together as a team, and that's just 5 brave souls doing what needs to be done.
It really is pretty incredible, the timing of that, too. And this isn't a part of the state where, you could be on a road and not see another car for 5 minutes, 10 minutes easily. The luck of these girls driving by as this woman lost control of her car and went into the water, mind-boggling. And the fact that they knew what to do, they had the the presence of mind to pull over, run down there, get in the water. One of them knew CPR. At least one of them performed CPR. I mean, that's a real life. That's a Lifetime movie waiting to happen, or a Netflix series or something.
Now, imagine yourself as a parent, and this happens to you, and in the chaos of the situation, and your entire focus, of course, is on your children. The first responders show up. You're all off to the hospital. Everyone's going to be okay, but you never had a chance to meet with any one of them in person. I mean, it just boom, 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 boom. Things happen. You're off to the hospital, and now they're in the works of trying to get a bit of a reunion together, because you would have to, as a parent, get back together with these young women and just thank them and hug them in person.
Another crazy car story from over the weekend. This is out in Hawaii and Kauai. There was a citizen doing his part to help corrections officers. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're driving and you see a car go into a river and you go save somebody. Sometimes you see maybe a police officer who needs help and you jump involved. Sometimes you make a citizen's arrest. Sometimes you help authorities capture an escaped convict. And that's exactly what happened over the weekend in Hawaii. However, the person who helped authorities find this escaped convict is now facing charges of his own. This is a wild one. Let me clear your confusion. A gentleman escaped from the Kauai Community Correctional Center at 1 a.m. 1 a.m., busts himself out of jail. Moments afterwards, he's walking towards Lihu. I guess that's how you pronounce this town. He's walking down the highway, and he gets hit by a car who didn't see him. He's an escaped convict, and he gets knocked down in a hit and run. Yeah, that's right, run, because the car that hit him sped off. They actually had no idea who they hit. They were just like, oh, crap, beat it. So authorities, when they realize this guy's missing, they immediately run out of the jail in every direction. Car goes down the road, drives like half a mile. Oh, there he is. And, he got hit by a car. Great. Thanks a lot. There was a 911 call. Somebody called 911 and said, hey, I just saw a guy get hit by a car. So police reports have been filed for both the escape and the alleged hit and run. They're trying to find out the person who, A, helped them recover an escaped convict, and B, broke the law by running after running the guy down.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know what they're going to get. They're in a certain amount of trouble, but if you had stopped, you'd be a hero. You would have had an assist, you know. You would have got an attaboy, maybe a key to the city or something, provided you weren't drunk, of course, or illegally behind the wheel when you hit someone. But, you could have said, I saw him running from the cops. I saw him there, and so I thought I'd go ahead and give him a bump into the ditch for you guys. But no, now you're on the wanted list as well.
Yeah, you got to wonder if was it a jumpsuit, an orange jumpsuit, a striped, was it a two-piece?
Like
did he look like an escaped convict, and was the hit and run driver? Did he have that thought like, well, I'll just leave him here. I don't want to get involved.
Someone will find him.
Someone's behind me. They'll clean it up. I'm running a little late.
Sounds to me like a little bit of that famous Maui Wowie was involved. Somebody was driving a little under the influence and went, I just hit someone. Oh, crap. I'm getting out of here. And then now they're a hero. Go figure. On to some more concerning news. This is actually kind of upsetting, and I'd like everyone to prepare themselves. Chips Ahoy is changing up their recipe.
How dare you, sir?
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
A spokesman for Chips Ahoy. Well, I guess you have to pronounce it a spokesman for Chips Ahoy, because there's that exclamation point. Says the company is about to have a new and improved recipe. It's going to give an improved texture and just the right amount of chocolate chips. The senior director at Chips Ahoy, her name is Sabrina Sarant. She says the company has spent more than 5,000 hours creating more than 60 new recipes. And here's her quote. At the end of the day, we went with the recipe that kept what our customers liked most, including a nice balance of chocolate to cookie, and then we worked to make that cookie even better. What, did you just go ahead and officially add crack to it? Because
it's pretty vague.
I don't know anyone that eats less than 5 Chips Ahoy at any one sitting. I don't know what you want people to do to let you know they're perfect as is.
Yeah, maybe a little THC in there, right? Just keep you going to the next one. It is its own THC. It gives you the munchies by eating them. Yeah, I think you've had it right. I don't know. Now, listen, the cookie options, me being a legitimate cookie monster, the cookie options are far and vast, much more than we ever had when I was a kid, and a few cookies in the aisle there. So many, local places making fantastic cookies. So I get it. You feel like maybe cookie sales have dipped a bit, but you make one of the classic cookies. You don't have to try too hard. Texture, I don't understand a better. What's wrong? First of all, you've got the soft and chewy, and then you've got the classic crunchy ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why you got to mess with it unless they're trying to, kick up that old Coke promotion. Or no, Pepsi. It was Pepsi. They came out with the new Pepsi.
No, new Coke.
Coke.
No, it was
new Coke. All right, been a while. The Cola Wars, They came up with the new Coke, and then people revolted. They went back to the old Coke, and they came out of it looking even better because, it reminded people how much they loved the old Coke. I don't know if this is one of those.
I was thinking there might be something like that because, Oreo, there's so many varieties of Oreo cookies, and every they introduce a new one just about every year. There's Oreo mint, but then there's Oreo bubblegum flavor, and then strawberry. They do all these crazy concoctions, and every time they introduce a new variety of Oreo, the original Oreos sell like hotcakes. It just boosts people to go get the real ones. It's such a subconscious, wait a minute, they're going to get rid of real Oreos? And then everyone goes and buys 2 bags of them that day, and the next thing you know. Chips Ahoy and Oreo, the 2 cookies at the Gorman house, that there were never enough. You could never, there was the one thing my brother Doug was like, Zeb, you said you're a cookie monster. That was Doug. He's 2 years older than me. That sucker, my entire life was spent watching him get a tumbler of milk, and then he would take one whole sleeve from either the Oreos or the Chips Ahoy, which is anywhere from 12 to 24 cookies. And he would walk into the den, sit down, and he would have his cookies in a stack. He would literally make them stack on top, and he would just take one, dunk it, hold it, whole cookie in, and then a sip, and then take it, dunk it, hold it, whole cookie in.
Yeah, it's a ritual.
Take a sip. And he would work through, countless. And this is a kid who grew like 7 inches the year he entered 8th grade, and he made it to 6'4". And I think when he graduated high school, he weighed 125 pounds. He was just, and he ate triple-decker toasted peanut butter jelly sandwiches like there was no tomorrow, and just stacks of cookies, and could not gain a pound to save his life. And it was just like, even at that age, when that's the last thing you're thinking, I'd look at him and go like, you are a genetic marvel. What a freak.
Well, maybe it was a little lactose in that milk kept him a little too regular. More times than I could count in my life, maybe hundreds of times, I've been driving home, batching it, thinking, oh, man, I don't have anything to eat. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, that's right. I've got cookies. I knew that it was a meal. I'm like, I'm just going to go home and pound some cookies and drink some milk. It's all in there. You got your eggs. You've got your flour, which has the grain element. You drink the milk. Bing, bang, boom. Cocoa, which I think is good for you. I don't know if it is or not. But, yeah, it's all in there. Everything you need for a well-rounded, decent meal. You can get away with it every once in a while. Cookie dinner.
It's funny because as much as we love cookies, do you remember when they introduced the cereal called Cookie Crisp?
Oh yeah.
See,
bowl of cookies.
We didn't really care for it. It was like we would just say, well, then if I'm going to do this, I'll just do it with Chips Ahoy, and we would just make our own Chips Ahoy cereal because that's what Cookie Crisp was. We were for whatever reason we were a little snooty. We looked down our nose at you. No, don't pander to our Cookie Jones.
I loved it. I stayed home sick from school one day, and I was like kind of sick. I wasn't really sick, but I told my mom I was really sick.
Sure.
And when she left the house for a little bit, left me alone, I ate a whole box of Cookie Crisp, and I barfed it all
That'll
up.
make you sick.
Yeah.
Oh, you threw it.
Did you guys ever hear the bit Jerry Seinfeld did on Cookie Crisp cereal?
I don't believe I did.
Not very long. Listen to this.
Okay. Parents, for some reason, had no idea or no interest that there's no food in any of this. And it was great until the Cookie Crisp people came along and blew the lid off of the whole rack.
Yeah.
So somebody pushes a good thing just a little too far. Cookie Crisp. If you don't know what this is a cereal. It's not like cookies. It is cookies. This is your breakfast. A bowl of chocolate chip cookies. This cereal should have been called The Hell with Everything. Ice cream for lunch, cake for dinner, bacon and cigarettes in between. That's the Cookie Crisp Total Health Plan.
Jerry Seinfeld, also, this just in, apparently, my man is officially a billionaire now.
Well, I would have thought he already, that doesn't shock me, I guess.
From syndication deals alone, estimates are that he's made almost $500 million, and I think that's an undersell because I remember when Seinfeld initially went to syndication, like the first day it hit syndication, he and Larry David split like $500 million that day, and that's 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's a good day at the office.
He was doing very, very well back when he was still doing club. I saw Jerry Seinfeld at a club called Zanies in Nashville in like 1984 or 85. And I used to see him on Letterman and The Tonight Show, and you'd always wait. And I can remember, like, my brothers and I, we were way into Seinfeld, several years before the TV show started. And there was an article about him in People magazine once. And I remember thinking, like, he's in People? Like, wait. I thought we were the only people that knew who this guy was, even though, as I said, we were regularly watching him on national television, doing bits on Carson and Letterman. But back then, I remember he had a house in Hollywood Hills and like 4 Porsches. And I was like, I saw him at Zanies. There was like 200 people there. How much money does this guy have?
I remember reading that, and he had a TV and a couch. And that was it. He was just a minimalist.
Yeah, pretty much. Cars and not much else. Yeah. But yeah, not surprising to hear that my man's a billionaire because also he's still, performs constantly. Like he'll come down. I believe he was here just last year. Since I got to Minneapolis, he performed here. Right. I know for a fact he's in, over the years in Nashville, he'd come in every couple years and do like 2 shows a night at a 4,000 seat theater. I mean, it's just like, boom, guy's printing money. Yeah. So yeah, fair enough.
Never tell you how much I love you.
If someone's got to be a billionaire, at least it's someone who makes everybody laugh.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's why I probably thought he already was. There's the Seinfeld, and you hear about these syndication deals. The gang and friends make each one of them make $20 million a year just in syndication. So I'm guessing Seinfeld has a bigger chunk of that even.
Of course.
Yeah, and then everything else, it's printing money.
He's doing pretty well for himself. I don't know what kind of golf game the man has, but I do know this. As a minimalist and as a guy who looks for a bargain, if he wants to play golf in the Twin Cities, Jerry Seinfeld, just like me and just like you, can still pick up the golf card number 3. This is KQ's final golf card for 2024. You can hit 7 area courses, and while you do it, you'll save over $200. Get yours at 92kqrs.com. The keyword to search, wait for it, golf.
Nice.
How do you spell that? I can dig it. We're going to talk about this Bitcoin scam going around in Blaine. A lot of times I throw these to the side, but I started reading this story. Scam alert. It's already nabbed a couple of people. Bitcoin scam in Blaine. Whether you participate in Bitcoin or not, this isn't who they're targeting. But with Pornhub charges, this is crazy. We're going to get to this here in about 15 minutes. Hang tight.
I like your free-flowing format.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Monday, March the 25th. Good morning. It's a sloppy mess out there. It's not icy. That's the good news. Temperatures kept the last 24 hours of precipitation from getting to be too problematic. It's still, there's a drizzle going on off and on throughout the day. I mean, we're going to be pushing 40 degrees, at least here in the Twin Cities and the surrounding area, warmer than you would normally expect with the amount of snow we just got. So for now and today, it's wet and it's kind of nasty, but it's not so unsafe. It's going to get much colder in a couple days, and then we might have some ice to look out for. But for right now, it's just a sloppy day. Get to work, be safe, be careful, but not too much outside of the ordinary to be worried about. We just heard Cheap Trick. They are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I had to Google it because I'd forgotten. I thought to myself, surely Cheap Trick has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they were 8 years ago in 2016, which is really weird to say 8 years ago in 2016 in the same sentence. But they were inducted, as well they should be. The fan vote right now for this year's inductees I'm sorry to say, Ozzy Osbourne has been overtaken by Foreigner on the fan vote. Ozzy was sitting there at number 1 for a while, then he was number 2. He is now number 3, behind Foreigner and behind the number 1 fan vote nominee this year right now, Dave Matthews Band. DMB is not Dynamite.
What?
Something is wrong here.
DMB is not Dynamite.
Conspiracy happening.
It's not a conspiracy happening. They just got younger people who are more internet savvy than Ozzy's fans. I don't know if that's true. But they're voting. So here's what you got right now. You got 15 nominees. Here, the fan vote, top 5. Dave Matthews Band, Foreigner, Ozzy Osbourne, Peter Frampton, and then at number 5, Cher.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
great.
I'm not. It's going to be great. Listen, I'm just not here to diss on Cher. Who wants to pick on Cher? Cher. She's one of the great entertainers of all time.
She certainly is.
But when we talk about Hall of Fames, I just think you've got to have some artistic chops in there somewhere, and I don't see it with Cher.
She's not so much a rocker or a roller. She's a pop star. She's an entertainer. Great actress. Yeah, I agree with you.
Not even talking about genre, but just, I mean, the contribution that she made. I mean, she picks up the mic and goes out there, lays it down. She's been everything from controversial to just over-the-top entertaining.
Tremendous performer, but not necessarily an artist.
When I think of rock music, I think of the performance element the most. So I'm gonna give her in. I'm gonna get her in.
Fair enough. I'm going to get her in. All right. What
It's all up to me.
What if, Candace, Cher went in this year, but Ozzy didn't?
Oh, well, then that would be a bummer.
Yeah. This isn't me, man. I'm not busting your balls, dude, but everyone wants to know. And when I say everyone, I say 2 of my friends. In my world, that's a mandate. That's everyone. Here we'll go with Eric's. Webb says, it's going to happen sooner or later. You know it. The Black Crowes are going to be nominated. Steve, ? Thoughts?
I don't know that for sure. I would bet the Black Crowes never go in. Whether they'll be a nominee remains to be seen. I wouldn't be stunned by that, but I would legitimately be stunned if the Black Crowes went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, the band is making a strong push now to keep themselves on the minds of other people. You know, hey, we're still doing a new record. We're going to be touring nonstop. We're playing the songs you want to hear, and they're doing all that. Very smart decisions. They're making some business decisions that certainly make sense, and that's going to go a long way towards reminding people of the band's importance or impact back in the day. But I don't think that's. I've thought this when I was in the Black Crowes. It's not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame material. It just doesn't seem to me like it is.
I mean, you guys have 4 songs that are in regular rotation in every damn classic rock station on the planet. And when you think about it, when you break down the artists that have 4 in regular rotation, 365 on classic rock stations, you get yourself down to a 2-page list. It's not a super long list. So, yeah.
I think there's a lot of those bands who've been waiting, who've been around a lot longer and still haven't been in. I just think there's a long line on the, a couple records everybody still really knows and remembers. I mean, a long career, sure, but as far as being in the scene and people paying attention and still feeling, the heyday, if you will, commercially for the Black Crowes was I think a lot shorter than a lot of people think it was. We made a lot of lemonade out of some lemons for sure. And I'm not this is not a question of what I think of the music on any level. I'm just talking about the conventional wisdom, the conventional view of the band is that it's a lot bigger than it actually was. Just going off, the band had 2 records that sold a lot of copies. That's really it.
It comes up with artists like, I said artists, with entertainers like Cher, though. I mean, who is musically relevant?
Sure.
I mean, when you think of Cher, there's a lot of people out there, the first thing they think of Cher is an actress.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't even go right to her music, and they'd have to kind of say, what was that 80s tune that was kind of big for a while, If I Could Turn Back Time or something?
Yep,
and then some of her songs, we say tongue-in-cheek, gypsies, tramps, and thieves and stuff like that are a little, seem to be tongue-in-cheek pop hits.
In the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for wives, Patty Boyd certainly is a first ballot Hall of Famer. She was married to both George Harrison and Eric Clapton. Patty Boyd, Harrison, Clapton. That's quite a moniker. I mean, she and George met, if memory serves, on the shooting of the Hard Day's Night film.
Yes.
Like they met in early 64, married for years, and then George and Eric became friends, and then Eric Clapton, very famously, I'm not bashing the guy, became obsessed with his best friend's wife to the point where he basically all but said, if I can't have you, I don't want to live anymore. And I know that because he wrote that in a letter to her, which she just auctioned off. Patty Boyd had an auction of her personal belongings on Friday in London at Christie's, and she took away $3.6 million worth. One of the big sellers went for $153,000. It was the handwritten love letter from Eric Clapton in 1971. She saved all of these letters from Clapton. This one, part of what it said, I would sacrifice my family, my God, and my own existence, and still you will not move. I am at the end of my mind. I cannot go back, and there is nothing in tomorrow save you, except for you, that can attract me beyond today. And questions, why do you hesitate? Am I a poor lover? Am I ugly? Am I too weak? Too strong? Do you know why? If you don't want me, please break the spell that binds me.
Wow. Jeez,
he wrote that.
P-whipped.
He hand wrote that on a note in 1971, and 53 years later, she's like, do I hear $153,000 for the heart and will of Eric Clapton? Sold to the gentleman who's just as weird as Eric.
Yeah.
Who would buy that for $153,000. Right. Another love letter from Clapton went for $137,000. I mean, this is like, wow, my man. He was already Eric Clapton in all capital letters when he wrote it. That's not like, oh, I found this cute note when he was just Eric from the neighborhood. No, he was already Eric Clapton, and she held on. But by the way, the biggest selling item was the actual painting that graces the cover for the Derek and the Dominoes debut album, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs. That is a painting. If you've seen it a million times. That's an album cover that's very recognizable. Anybody listening might go, I don't know what you're talking about. Trust me, if you see it, you'd go, oh, I know exactly what that is. The painting was purchased by Clapton, who then gave it to George Harrison as a gift. He bought it and gave it to George. George then gave it to Patty. And then Eric was so in love with Patty, and then he was like, well, I'll put that photo that I bought for your husband that you gave to your wife on the cover of my album. Anyway, the original painting, that sold for $2.5 million. That set a record for an original album cover artwork.
Well, I mean, at least that's art. I mean, you've got the original painting. You hang that on the wall. That's better than the poster, man. That's cool. That's better than hanging the album up on the wall. That I get. The love letters, I suppose you frame them and you stick them in your Eric Clapton shrine that apparently, because the person that bought that is probably over the top. He probably has a couple of guitars and a whole bunch of memorabilia, a whole Eric Clapton wing in their house or whatever. But, I mean... So I'd rather have the painting. Would be cool.
Eric Clapton, I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame 3 times. I mean, he's an icon. He's a tremendous musician, a great artist. Ever since he got sober, he's helped countless people attain sobriety. I mean, he's done a lot of good things. Great guy. George Harrison, a member of my favorite band. I'm a diehard George Harrison fan. I love the man with all my heart. Poor Patty. I mean, can you imagine being married to those two guys?
Right.
I mean, sorry, they're great artists, great guys, but geez, that woman deserves all the pats on the back and all the cups of tea you can. Seriously, man, you endured those nonsense from those two guys at that time in the world. Well done, Patty.
Yeah, kind of needy.
It's just a touch.
Yeah, the musicians, right? Yeah, exactly. And
by the way, you know who wasn't needy is George. And in fact, Patty's the one who had to endure. Like, well, I'm married to you. Eric is in love with me, and I might love him. And George goes, well, then you should be with him. Just okay. See you later.
Oh,
and I'll be at the wedding. I mean, which is. On one hand, remarkably reasonable and rational and adult and loving. And on the other, it's kind of like, oh, my God, I just married this guy for better part of a decade. And when I told him I love someone else, he's like, oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I'll go hang with Ringo's wife. He probably fist pumped when she walked out. I have been in relationships where you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this breakup? It's going to be the worst thing ever. Or how do I tell her? It's going to, oh my gosh, it's going to be gee whiz. And you go over it and you dwell on it and you stress out. It takes years off your life. Then one day they walk in and go, you know what? I don't want to see you anymore. And you're like, what? Oh. Well, all right. I mean, whatever's good for you. I want what's healthy for you. If this is, and they walk out and you're like, oh, baby, yeah. You know, one of those deals.
But who can remember the details?
Yeah, I don't, right. The exact feeling, but something like that.
There's a scam making the rounds in Blaine. Heads up. It's a Bitcoin scam, and whether or not you are into Bitcoin or not, you could fall prey. There's been a substantial loss from several victims. The Blaine Police Department on Friday posted on Facebook to warn residents, check this out. Part of a scam, a screen will pop up on the victim's home computer, and it tells them there are, quote, suspicious charges on their bank account. And in one of these cases, the scammers had the victim's exact balance on their savings and checking accounts. They also provided a picture of a bank ID card with the victim's name on it. So they can get in and find out information. They're pretty good at this. The scammer said, hey, the bank's fraud department will not be able to help if the victim called the police, and instead we'll put them on a predatory offender list for Pornhub charges.
What?
This is what they tell them. They say, hey, we got some suspicious and irregular charges from your account. The fraud department's not going to help if you bring the police in. They're saying we need to deal with this ourselves. And then they make a threat to the victim saying, we'll put you on a predatory offender list for, quote, Pornhub charges. Pornhub, a giant free porn website. Victims are told instead to withdraw thousands of dollars from their accounts and put the money into a Bitcoin ATM at a gas station. By using a QR code provided by the scammer, the victims are instructed to send the funds to the scammer's digital wallet. They are unable to reverse the transaction, and several people have been scammed for many thousands of dollars. They've gone through with this.
Extortion.
Yeah. And the threat that you'd be put on a predatory offender list for Pornhub charges, I feel bad for anybody that falls prey to these sort of things. And I know people who have been the victims of internet hoaxes like this. But what is so hard about, if you're not a Pornhub enthusiast and if you're not a predator and if that has nothing to do with your life, how could you possibly take this seriously? How could you think this bank is going to put me on an offenders list? You have your own I'm just thinking aloud here. This is where my brain would go. I'm sure this is a scam, but maybe they could somehow, if they can get into my bank, maybe they can put me on some weird red flag predator list. I have the internet search. I have my computers. You can delete your internet search, but it's still in there. You can't find it, but a cop, sure, the tech people certainly can. You just go to the damn police and go, hey, this is what's going on. Yeah. It would seem to me. Although, of course, there's a reason people get scammed and there's a reason phishing emails work. And this is one of those things. I think it's interesting that they're like your bank says suspicious activities and then there's a Pornhub angle. If that doesn't raise a red flag, I don't know what would.
I mean, they want to hit you with as many salacious sort of accusations as possible to get you to panic, and in that moment of panic, do all of this, right, so that they can get you. Because if you think it out for a moment, you go, wait a minute, I'm just trying to think how comical it would be if my bank, Wells Fargo, sent me an email saying, hey, dude, you owe us some money. You're going to give us some money for the Bitcoin, or we're going to put you on a predatory list for Pornhub charges. I'm like, you don't seem as friendly as the teller that I saw last week when I was there. What up, Wells Fargo? In a bad mood? Are you hurting for dough? I'm not picking on Wells Fargo. I'm just thinking that's such a well-known bank. You really think they're going to come at you with that? And I am no expert on Pornhub. However, I am aware of the site, and I have perhaps clicked on it from time to time, just for 60 seconds or so. But there is no. If you're on Pornhub, it's not. If there was a predatory offender relationship with Pornhub, it would be illegal. It wouldn't exist. There are no predatory offenders. They don't do child pornography and that sort of thing. Human trafficking is not a part of Pornhub. It's a legitimate pornography website that many thousands, I would dare say millions of people use each and every day. So there is no predatory offender list for Pornhub charges. But yeah, people panic. And I would guess it would be the people that have they use the word Pornhub because, I've heard of that somewhere. My God, yes, predatory and human trafficking. And people talk about that all the time. There's a movie out about it. And, so they get you to panic. Don't panic. Catch your breath. Mention it to a friend. Call a family member. Call someone that's a bit younger than you.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. There should be a designated person in your life that you look at and go, this person's rational and reasonable, and from now on, I'll call them when somebody gets their hooks into me online, starts to get me to freak out. I think I told you the story. I got phished once. I had a weird email that accused me of going into my old radio building and masturbating in the middle of the day. Like, we have you on camera. And I was like, that hadn't happened, but I still stared at my phone going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm knowing fully well, okay, no, but wait, what?
Just a matter of time.
It was the weirdest thing. The building was closed down for COVID. I'd gone in the day before just to pee, which I did. And then the timing was incredible. And it really did throw me. So I completely get that you can be caught off guard and suddenly you're panicking. I mean, this is not quite like the AI scam where you hear your own child's voice tell you they've been kidnapped or that they're in jail, which I can't even imagine how devastating that is to get from, and then find out hopefully it's not true. This is not that visceral, I wouldn't think. This is not that immediate, like, oh my God, I'll do anything. But it's clearly working on a few people. So all this to say, appoint someone right now in the back of your mind. Just think about somebody that you'll go, wait, this person. And like you said, Zep, probably a younger family member. Just have them on speed dial when you get a weird thing like this.
Yeah, pass it by. It'll work. I remember one time receiving an email saying, we have your mugshot. We found your mugshot online. You certainly don't want your employer to find this. You don't want your family members. I think they even mentioned my church. So right there, that was a red flag. I went, my church. But we have you. But what we'll do for you is we'll suppress it. We'll take it off the internet so no one can find it for $350. And so what I did is I used it as my Facebook profile picture because I had already talked about it on the radio to 1 million people, and I kind of wanted to shove it up their keister. Yeah. But I did report it as well to the Better Business Bureau. And at that time, obviously they can't do anything about it. It was probably generated from another country. But I thought, there are people that would actually be scared by this, that would actually be alarmed by this, that don't want people to find out, that don't have such a insane lifestyle that they would brag. I wasn't bragging about it, but I was like, so I put it on there to kind of. I don't think anything ever came of it.
I actually have your mug shock on a new duvet cover. I just doubled that.
Oh man!
I just wanted you to imagine it.
I'm going to get you the Share pillow set to go with that.
I'm just realizing. I'm realizing I'm a perfect victim for someone to take advantage of in these situations because
you're a man.
When something goes wrong, I have this built-in assumption everyone will think I did it. This goes back. This is family stuff. Sorry, pardon me. And I can intellectualize it and I can make sense of it. But at the end of the day, if the crap hits the fan and if somebody's overlooked something and someone goes, who's responsible for this? I mean, my central nervous system is like. And I was out of state, and I'll still be like, oh, crap, they're going to think it was me for no reason, right?
Yeah.
I had a dear friend in college, Crystal. She was great. One of my closest friends. We were buddies. Completely platonic relationship. Never a physical element ever, except one time I gave her a piggyback ride. That was it. Mm. She came to me in the fall of '86 and said, she called, hey, I'm coming over. I said, great. She comes up to my room. She goes, I got to talk to you. I said, what's up? She goes, well, I'm pregnant. And I kid you not, I didn't hear the next 10 things she said because I was thinking, oh my God, what? And then I'm like, I heard my brain go, hey, dumbass, there's no way it's yours. But when she said that, I immediately was like, I guess I'm going to be a dad now. I'm only 21. I was going to go to Atlanta and start a band, but I guess I got to. And then I'm like, wait, whoa. She's not telling. I mean, completely just
getting it off her chest.
She's bearing her soul. It's a story that is 1,000% about her. And I missed the next 9 seconds because I was like, oh, my God, how did this happen? I can't believe I'm going to have a baby. What?
I'm going to have to do the right thing.
They said piggyback rides weren't sexual contact.
Not necessarily all about me is the lesson. Anyway, and in no way, shape, or form was she accusing me. She knew exactly who the father was. They'd been dating for a year. It was hardly a mystery.
And you guys, I'm going to jump topics here because we got to bolt. Any of you guys scuba certified?
Not certified. I have scuba, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I did once up at Lake Orbegon. They took me out for one of these tall pines out of Virginia. Took me out for a quick dip in Lake Orbegon, which is kind of a whole different story I don't want to get into. But if anybody has maybe you want to go scuba diving, the undiscovered English ship lost at sea with a treasure worth billions. They're narrowing it down.
Okay.
It's really kind of a fascinating story and how much booty they would actually put on one of these damn ships that went to the bottom. We'll get to that story here in about 20 minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Monday, March the 25th. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you're just joining us.
No nonsense.
If you're just joining us, Candace, do you have anything you want to say? I thought you were going to throw another good morning out there.
Nope.
Nope.
But I am having a good morning.
I'm glad to hear that. Dear.
Yeah,
Anything
it's so
specific?
nice to be with you guys. Steve tried to trap me, put a bunch of Cheez-Its on the ground outside of my studio door, thinking I'd stomp on them. But I look where I walk.
Man.
You almost got me.
I would have picked those up.
I thought
They're still there.
I thought I was onto something with that, but no. Candace is it's like the video on Instagram where they show like the dog runs into the obstacle course, but then the cat very adroitly makes it through, and you're like, and then all the cat nerds like, see, cats are cooler than dogs. It's like, great, your cat can jump over a wall of red Solo cups. Congratulations. Whatever. Cats. I mean,
Cats.
I like my cat, but I have no time for your cat. Trust me.
That's how it is with cats.
It's how it is. Cats and babies, man. I love mine. Yours?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I love everybody's dog, but not everyone's cat. Exactly. You're right. I'm not going to psychologically break that down, but you're right. I mean, it's hard enough to like cats. They've got to be your own to like them.
100%. That's always been my situation. I grew up with an adamant non-cat kind of family. We were all about dogs. And of course, when I finally got a cat, I was like, it's pretty cool. I kind of like this thing. And then over the years, let's see, 3. How many cats have we had? Because Rosemary grew up with cats. I grew up with dogs. There was Marbles, and then there was Binky, and then there was Ginger, and now there's so 4 cats. I'm 4 cats in, 2 of whom I really, really liked. One of whom was okay, and the other, God rest her sweet, tortured soul, was kind of a headache.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Whereas what am I? I'm 10 dogs old, I think. All my dogs are just the best.
Yeah.
Just the best.
That's it. Although what I like about a cat is that it's not a dog. But, sometimes I just like to be left alone. You don't get a lot of that from dogs.
We're going to move on from the heartwarming story of how much we love our dogs to we're going to touch back on a story we mentioned earlier today, because every now and again a story is just so damn weird we gotta talk about it more than once. This is a story from Wasco, California. Wasco, California has an Amtrak station, and let's see. Over the weekend, deputies responded to a police report, a railroad police report. Apparently, a pedestrian was struck by a train at the Amtrak station. And it was a sad thing. A pedestrian was struck by a train. The pedestrian did not survive and, in fact, lost a leg in this incident. So that's an awful scene, right? Oh, it gets much worse. I believe we have a little news audio.
A terrifying video circulating on social media appears to show a man carrying a severed body part of someone killed by a train in Wasco.
I'm not sure from where, but he came this way, and he was waving a person's leg, and he started chewing on it over there. He was biting it, and then he was hitting it against the wall and everything, and he's eating it.
The detached leg came from a person hit by a train near the Wasco Amtrak station earlier that morning. More videos sent into Eyewitness News shows the man waving the leg around. KCSO says the man is 27-year-old Rosendo Tellez. Tellez was arrested for taking evidence from the scene and had multiple outstanding warrants.
Troublemaker. I wonder what the other warrants were for, you know?
I was just thinking the same thing. Multiple outstanding warrants, but you're not going to give us a hint on what those could be?
This story is being covered by every damn station. It's appeared locally here on the morning show. I believe it hit one of the national morning show here. But there's not a lot more information right now. That's it. That's all we've got is this weirdo picked up the leg. I'm watching the video. I did find some unpixelated video of him actually gnawing on the leg.
God.
Maybe it's one. Maybe he didn't think it was a real leg because you'd think, oh, what did somebody prank him? Is this a little Halloween? What is going on here, man? A movie prop. I'm out in California. I don't know where Wasco's at. Maybe he was biting it like you'd bite an old wooden nickel, just to make sure it was an authentic, real severed leg that he was making off with.
It looked like somebody at the Renaissance Festival with the big turkey leg.
Oh my God.
You gotta
Don't ruin the turkey leg for me, Tony.
You got to get up early in the morning if you want to stick a prosthetic leg past these choppers.
Yeah, right.
This zombie man was literally waiting for this to happen. He sensed it. He could smell it. And
it's like that Cranberries song. And your legs and your toes and your knees, zombie. Isn't that the words?
I was so disturbed by this, but I knew I wanted to talk about it today because it was so crazy. So I took a picture of it, a screenshot of it, and I put it in my phone. And then I had to delete it because it's too scary. Because I wanted to forget about it. Now I can't. Right. I'm not going to forget about it. The video is so gross, and it's just so scary. Like, there's zombies, there's cannibals out there, man. Watch your back.
There was a back in the day in Atlanta. There still exists the free weekly creative loafing. That's where you'd get your what bands are playing in town, what cool off-center art assemblage has got a show, whatever. It was the hipster rag, creative loafing. Great paper back in the day, and they had a music critic who was just brutal, just eviscerated like everything. To the point where it was just hilarious. He kind of wished he would rip your band apart. Yeah. And I just had this bizarre memory that I've never, I don't know why I still remember, but when the Cranberries album came out with Zombie, that album was called No Need to Argue. And this guy, and everybody in the Atlanta music scene for the last 30 years knows this guy. His name was David T. Lindsay. And he just ripped, and I remember his entire review of this album was one sentence. And it said, Cranberries, no need to argue. And his review was, sure, but there's no need to bray like a dying mule about it either. I was like, wow. All right, then. That pretty much sells it all, says it all. All right, let's have here's a nice funny one to go out. Here's a palate cleanse, okay? I just came across, and this is because we do have we play a lot of games on the show here. We give away tickets, and we put people under pressure. Beat the Toaster especially. Just about every Friday, we watch people sweat. We can feel and hear them sweating over the airwaves. Well, the show Family Feud is also full of some pretty tense moments. It's one thing to play along at home, but you get up on that stage and they ask you the question, you hit the big beeper, and then sometimes some really bizarre things happen. And this thing just came across some of the greatest horrible Family Feud responses ever. And I just want to share a few with you because we just spent a few minutes talking about a human eating someone else's leg. Name something you do tonight if the world was coming to an end tomorrow. Guy rings in. Get the kids and start packing. Okay. During what month of pregnancy does a woman begin to look pregnant? The answer: September. These are because you just picture the person saying it, and then name a reason for kneeling. And the guy buzzed in and said, "To be beheaded."
Oh, okay. Well, you do.
Technically, probably didn't make the board though.
Well, that's if you're being beheaded at a time. I mean, that's if you know it's coming. I mean, I'm saying this is handed down from the king himself and the executioners here. Name a fictitious or famous Willie. Willie the Pooh.
Oh my God.
It's kind of a knockoff, but got into a little more trouble. It was entertaining.
Here's a good one. Name a famous Dick, as in a gentleman with the name Dick. And the answer: Carrot.
I get it.
Instead of Cavett, I guess.
God. Yeah, Dick Cavett, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Here's another one. Name something you hit when it's not working. Your spouse.
Oh wow.
No.
Oh my gosh.
That was not good.
Follow-up call on that one.
Name something associated with Liverpool. Guy said the yellow brick road.
Oh, but it was going to come with the Titanic was built there, wasn't it?
I believe it came out of there somewhere.
I don't know.
Who knows? I'll just give you a couple more. Name a famous bridge. Bridge over troubled water. Okay.
Well, it's a famous wherever it's at.
Name something that comes in sevens. Okay, first of all, what does come in sevens? I mean, there's got to be some obvious things that come in sevens.
Lucky roll of the dice.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I don't know what comes in sevens off the top of my head, but the answer was fingers. Okay.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for playing. Oh, they would panic, wouldn't they?
I would imagine so. That's just heat of the moment stuff right there. When Family Feud first hit, the OG feud with Richard Dawson. Man, that show in the mid-'70s, late 70s, every summer, we would just, I would watch it every morning. It was on at like 9 or 9:30 a.m., watch the feud, then go to the pool. Just that was it. Mm-hmm. And as there were 6 Gorman boys, I would be tortured because my brothers would say, we're going to apply, we're going to go on the show, but you can't play because you're the youngest. It'll be the 5 oldest brothers. And I would literally, and I was not like 4, I was like 11, and I'd get so mad. So what do you mean? No, I'm better at this game than you are, and then it would turn into a legit fight. like throwing hands over who's not going on Family Feud. You're too young, Steve. I'll be like, there's a kid on there my age last week. Yeah, that's the kind of things you fight about.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up in the greatest era of television game shows, but that was the one I first remember watching together as a family. Like it was a family sit-down to watch. Sure. Dad actually wanted to watch it. Oh, my know-it-all friend, Diane. Diane, how do I know you didn't Google these? 7 swans a-swimming, 7 deadly sins, and 7 dwarfs.
Oh, you go.
She's smart.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And she's listening.
Wow, yeah. I would have. By the way, we could have sat here till tomorrow. I wouldn't have come up with a single thing.
No, me either.
Because it either the portal opens or it doesn't. You know, those kind of answers.
Continents. Right? No, never mind.
They don't come in sevens. They're just there.
7.
There's 7 of them.
Are there 7 of them? I doubted myself. Yeah.
What was the 7? What'd she say? 7 lords a leaping? Is that the one? 7 swans a
swimming.
Swans a swimming.
7 seas.
Oh, 7 seas. That's a good one. Days of the week. My God, it just popped in my head.
Oh my gosh, we're so dumb.
Well, I mean, the buzzer. It's see what he did there to us.
Yeah.
7 fingers.
Fingers. Wow. Well, Mom and Dad ran a sausage plant. That made perfect sense to me at the time. That's fine. Just put it in there. There's no problem with that at all. No worries whatsoever. Hey, you know what? We have a little bit of time left. Why don't we look back? Oh, I'll teach you something. On this day in 1973, the Philadelphia 76ers lost a game to the Detroit Pistons on the final day of the season. That gave them a 9-73 record. They played 82 games and lost 73 of them.
Ow, I don't remember that.
I mean, honest to God, the 4 of us and any Uber driver that shows up could win 9 games in the NBA in 1973. Right. I mean, that is astoundingly horrible basketball. The Sixers still, for a full season, by far the worst team the league has ever seen. Oh, well, I shouldn't say by far, because actually the 97-98 Nuggets only won 11 games. Holy smokes. On this day in 1982, Wayne Gretzky scored his 203rd point of the season. That made him the first player in the history of the league to ever go over 200 points. No one else has ever made 200 points in a career. Wayne has 4 seasons over 200 points. Of the top 10 seasons ever in NHL history, Wayne Gretzky's name is next to 8 of them.
Yep, the great one.
I mean, it still makes no sense.
There's no argument there.
No, that of all the, people will go deep on Jordan versus LeBron. Yeah. They will go deep on Bird versus Magic. They'll go deep on Joe Montana versus Tom Brady. No one.
Nope.
No one questions Wayne Gretzky's place on the all-time list. The other 2 seasons where someone scored 200 points both belong to Mario Lemieux, and one of them, tragically, 199 points. I mean, you just know there was like a pass or an errant shot. Like when the season ended and he was 1 point shy of 200 points, he could think back to 24 moments he should have had a point and didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a rough one.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.